Looking to get ripped? Here are 3 vital tips to get you there. And if you stay to the end, there's a bonus tip. We have a lot to cover, so let's get into it. Tip number 1 is to avoid processed sugar and oil. Avoiding white sugar shouldn't be news to you. But what about raw sugar or organic sugar? And did I just say oil too? Isn't oil good for us? Don't we need fat in our diet? Isn't olive oil super healthy? Aren't Mediterranean diets that are loaded with oil healthy? These are all valid questions. We'll look at sugar briefly, and then dive a bit deeper into why you should avoid processed oils. But first, have a look at the screen here. If I hadn't labeled the sugar and oil videos, you probably wouldn't have been able to tell them apart. That's because both sugar and oil production are extremely similar. They both strip out all the fiber, vitamins, and minerals, and leave behind a concentrated product that can be sold at a high price. In the production of olive oil, for example, when the olives are crushed and the paste is exposed to light and heat, some of the polyphenols as well as flavor will be lost. Polyphenols such as phenolic acids, which are in olives, have antioxidant properties. Antioxidants are very helpful, so we want as much of them as possible in our food. They inhibit oxidation. This means they protect us against free radicals, which damage proteins, our DNA, and cells in our body. Antioxidants also help reduce inflammation in the body and support a healthy immune system. They also help protect us against heart disease, cancer, Alzheimer's, Parkinson's disease, and other chronic diseases. They protect our skin against UV damage, and they slow the aging process. So the more antioxidants we have in our food, the better. But in the processing of oils, these antioxidants are destroyed. Okay, let's talk about sugar, that diamond of the food world. Now, I'm sure everybody knows that you should be avoiding white sugar. So this is more just a reminder than telling you something that you don't know. But there's a lot of people out there who think that raw sugar or organic sugar is somehow better. But I'm here to tell you, and I'm going to show you, that they're essentially exactly the same thing. Now, it's pretty hard to replace all your sugars with natural foods like fruit, but it is doable. I would say that bananas and dates are probably the best ones for that type of thing. So you can mix dates in with your oatmeal. You can bake sweets and that type of thing using medjool dates or bananas. So these are some great substitutes, but I might have to make a separate video on that. Okay, let's jump right into the good stuff. Here's the white sugar. 2 tablespoons has about 100 calories and nothing really else in there. No vitamins, no minerals, no fiber. And brown sugar, not too much different. Maybe a little bit of potassium, a little bit of calcium, but not too much of anything in there. Pretty similar to the white sugar. Organic coconut sugar, again, nothing else in there. They don't even bother printing it on the label. They cut the label off nice and short. So there's nothing in that one, nothing in the organic maple sugar, same thing. Doesn't matter if it's organic or not. I mean, there's nothing it's offering us besides empty calories. And here we have raw sugar, not too much different from anything else. Maybe a little bit of trace minerals, but it's really just empty calories. Then there's palm sugar. I don't know who eats this stuff. But anyways, looking at all the different types of sugar, it's all the same stuff. Very, very small amounts of minerals and there's zero fiber, no protein, nothing in there. It's all garbage. So what should we be eating? Obviously fruit. As much as possible, try to eat fresh whole fruit. There's a whole bunch of different stuff out there. But, looking at bananas right here, obviously we can see right away that there's fiber. There's a little bit of protein in there, tons of potassium. As I mentioned before, there's dates. So dates are full of fiber. There's tons of potassium in here too. But just the balance, looking at an apple, the balance of, the water, the fiber, the vitamins, the minerals, it's a perfect package for us to consume in. And it doesn't shock our body like refined sugars. Grapes, another popular fruit, same thing. There's some potassium in there, lots of fiber. It's got a little bit of everything. Strawberries too. All these foods, you can see that they're way better than the refined sugars. They have a little bit of vitamins, a little bit of minerals in there. I'm not going to hammer this point home any further, but you guys get the picture. Here's a side-by-side comparison between olive oil and olives. Now, I'm not a huge olive fan, but because olive oil is such a popular oil, I thought I would do a side-by-side showing you that 2 tablespoons of olive oil, about 28 grams. Yes, it's got our fats in there, which are great, but it literally has nothing else here. No protein down here. Very small amounts of trace minerals, but when we look over here at the olives, about 10 olives, a lot less calories, still has our fats. Then we have, some sodium, which you may want to keep an eye on, but sodium is an essential mineral, which is important for nerve function, so I don't worry about my sodium levels too much. And then, little bits of protein, a little bit of dietary fiber, and some minerals added down here. So we can see right away that whole food beats out the olive oil. Next is avocado oil versus avocados. So again, this is another very trendy oil, which a lot of people are using right now. Again, we don't have a lot in it besides fat, so very little of anything else. But when we look over here at the avocado, yes, high calorie, so you may not want to have a whole avocado. You might want to just do like a half, but anyways, I usually eat a whole one, sometimes even 2 if they're really delicious. But look at that, we have protein in there. We have some fiber, a lot of fiber actually. Then we also have trace minerals, tons of potassium. So if you're buying this avocado oil because you think it's good for you, might as well go for the whole food. Way better for you. Again, another popular oil, macadamia nut oil. But look, nothing but pure fat. But if we look at the macadamia nuts themselves, so 1 ounce or 28 grams, yes, we have our fats, a little bit of protein in here, again, a little bit of fiber, sodium, carbohydrates, and again, minerals. So let's keep going. Let's look at the next one, walnut oil. People like to buy these oils because they think, because it comes from walnuts or because it comes from some exotic nut that it's better for you. But again, we can see that, yeah, there may be small trace amounts of calcium or iron, but they're so negligible that it comes out as 0%. So you're not getting that much. But when we look at the whole food, again, we can see, yes, we still get our fats, 0 cholesterol, which is great. I mean, they both have 0, but not to worry about that. Fiber, look at that, proteins in there, great. And then we have our minerals, so calcium, iron, and potassium are in almost all of these whole foods that we've seen so far. Flax, same thing. 2 tablespoons of flax oil, which some people use as a supplement for their omegas, omega-3s, but you're not getting a lot else with that. So no protein, nothing in there, but flaxseed themselves, an excellent whole food, preferably eaten either ground or blended in a smoothie. That's what I like to do, just put the whole seed in my smoothies because it grinds it up and is much more easily digested. The whole seed itself, they're very hard and they're hard to digest, so they may just pass right through you, so it's best to grind them or blend them up somehow. But when we look at it, look at that protein in there. We have, a good amount of fiber in there. A little bit of sodium, no cholesterol, again, great. And then our minerals, of course. So let's keep going. Chia seeds, same thing. We got our calories from fats, but nothing else, right? No protein down there, nothing. Chia seeds themselves, again, not so easily digested. Best if they're blended or ground up. Same as kind of what I said about the flax seeds. So proteins in there. We have our minerals in there. A little bit of sodium, a little bit of carbs. I mean, we can see right away that the whole foods are just killing it right now. Almond oil, not maybe that popular, but these people who buy these health foods think that they're good for them. But look, there's nothing added. Again, there's no protein. There's nothing in there. Almonds themselves, so 10 almonds, which, I don't know, for you, that may be a lot.
Some people like to have a very small amount, like between 5 and 7. I tend to have a big handful, so I might even do like 20 to 30 almonds in one sitting. So, but almonds, a little bit high calorie if you're having as many as I do. But I want the fats. That's why I'm eating these nuts. But look at that. We got a bit of protein in there. We got a bit of carbs. Again, a little bit of sodium. Again, it's an essential mineral. Plus these minerals down here. Again, all the whole foods have them. Coconut, same thing. Coconut oil is very, very trendy. Organic coconut oil, they say. Oh, it's good for you. All it is fat. So you have your calories from fat, no protein, again. But the coconut itself, it's amazing. It's got our fiber. It's got a little bit of protein. Okay, so what? It's not a ton. A little bit of sodium and trace minerals. So again, you're much better off having the whole food. MCT oil, another popular, trendy oil, which has hit the markets these days, but nothing but fat. So the calories from fat, that's all it is. If there is anything trace in there, there's a little bit of calcium. I mean, it's so trace that, it's basically zero. But what exactly is MCT oil made from? So let's look at it. So MCT oil, we can see right here, is taken from pure coconut and palm kernel oil. So palm kernel oil is pretty notorious for being not one of the best oils out there. And the rest of it is made from coconut, which we just talked about. So why are you eating this trendy food when you don't need to? You can just have the whole food. And now we're coming to our last oil, canola oil, which is again a popular cheap oil that people just pour all over the frying pan. There's no whole food equivalent, but again, when we look at it, there's nothing there. It's just we've extracted all the fat out of the canola, and it's offering us very little nutrition except for the fat calories. The last thing I want to talk about is the last whole food. As far as I could tell, there's no equivalent for a liquid oil, which to me is a good thing. But here we have 10 cashews. We have our calories here, which, it's a high calorie nut, I'm not going to lie. So, but we do want the fats. That's why we're eating nuts. A little bit of sodium. It's got some fiber and great, a little bit of protein in there, and our minerals. So we can see right away that all of these foods all the whole foods are much better than the liquid versions or the liquid fats, which people tend to think are good for them.
Tip number 2 is to eat your carbs. Just don't eat too much at once, and if possible, eat whole food. So this is going to be your brown rice, your sweet potatoes, fruits and vegetables. These are all excellent sources of carbohydrates. Simple carbs can be eaten once in a while. So this is going to be your fruit and honey and that type of thing. But at all costs, try to avoid junk food like Frosted Krispies or that type of thing. Carbohydrates are extremely helpful when we're trying to lose weight or trying to lose body fat. First of all, carbohydrates are the main fuel source for our body, especially when it comes to working out. Most workouts in the gym or any kind of bodybuilding style of workout, whether that's body weight or using weights, use carbohydrates as fuel. Also, our brain runs off of carbohydrates, and only in very extreme conditions do we resort to using ketones or ketone bodies for energy. But this is not an ideal source of energy. Another reason why carbohydrates are so good is because they're very satiating. So, a bowl of oatmeal in the morning is not that high calorie and can stay with us for much longer than simple carbohydrates. Also, carbohydrates help us prevent the loss of muscle mass. So carbohydrates you can think of as the fuel we need to build muscle, and protein is the building block. So we need both elements to build muscle. And just overall, when we eat carbohydrates, most people have sort of an enhanced feeling of satisfaction or enhanced mood from eating carbohydrate. So really, there's a lot of benefits when we're on a weight loss diet to keep carbohydrates in our diet and not to cut them out. Now let's listen to a few experts tell us in not so many words that carbohydrates are a good part of a weight loss diet.
Because it's time that you and I have a little bit of a talk. And we're going to talk today about losing body fat. And I'm going to follow that up with a recommendation to eat carbohydrates.
Carbohydrates are the single most important thing you can eat for health and weight loss.
This misconception about carbohydrates has filtered across communities and caused for a lot of people to demonize a major nutrient group. Let's dive into this to see if carbs are evil or just misunderstood. There are two main types of dietary carbohydrates: simple carbs, table sugar, fruit, milk, and honey. Complex carbs: oats, brown rice, quinoa, and sweet potato. Most of the time, complex carbs have more vitamins and minerals. They take longer to digest because they contain more fiber. But at the same time, simple carbs that absorb quickly can be that boost that you need during your workout. But no, carbs make you fat. No, they don't. When you limit your calories and protein, there is no weight loss benefit of eating low carb over high carb. Any nutrient group will make you gain weight if you consume too much. If you consume more energy than you burn, you're going to pick up weight. Where the problem with carbs come in is processed refined carbohydrates, where almost all vitamins, minerals, and fibers are stripped. And it's shown that these refined carbs contribute to heart disease, obesity, and diabetes. Over 42% of average American diet comes from these refined carbohydrates, and it's all the tasty, cheap, and accessible foods. And that's where I think the misconception comes in. Carbs aren't bad. Some are better for your health than others, and some are damn good for you. But don't demonize something that is so major and excluded from your diet.
What is the all-carb diet? Well, before I get into the details, I want to show you some of the results that I achieved in a month on this type of diet plan, because the results kind of shocked me.
So to recap, make sure you're including carbs in your diet. Definitely don't cut them out. Just make sure you're choosing the right ones, like whole foods. So again, that's your sweet potatoes, that's your brown rice. A bit of white rice once in a while is not going to kill you. And here's a few examples of what I eat to stay lean. Point number 3 is to not fill your stomach too full, especially with very fibrous food like raw vegetables and salads and lots of things that cause you to make you feel bloated and full and maybe even gassy. So even though they may be very low calorie, believe me, I've tried it. I've tried loading up on salads or, raw veggies. And the problem with these foods is that there's not enough balance of fats and protein. So even though your stomach will be full, you're still going to feel hungry. And so you're going to take off your shirt and you're going to look distended. Your stomach's going to be sticking out. So that's actually the benefit of fats, is that they are calorie dense. So, your stomach isn't going to be popping out of your shirt if you have slightly denser food. So this is a little bit tricky to do, because when you're losing weight, you're going to be in a deficit and you're going to be eating less calories than your body needs. While you're cutting calories, you want to feel full. So you might eat a lot of fibrous food, massive salads. But like I said, your stomach is going to sort of stick out and you're going to have to work a little bit harder to suck it in. So eating these very fibrous foods is exercising your abdominal muscles, especially the TVA, so the transverse abdominis muscle. You might have to work a little bit harder to be sucking that in if you're eating very fibrous foods. This distension, again, it's basically just overeating. But when you're overeating, low calorie foods, they take up a lot of volume. So my advice is this: eat a balanced meal as often as possible. So that's going to be a mix of your fats, your carbs, and protein at every single meal, so that you're not overeating on low-calorie foods and thus stretching out your stomach and stretching out your stomach muscles. So again, don't consume a huge amount of low-calorie dense foods like salads and soups without the balance of having protein and fat in there. All it's going to do is leave you feeling hungry. You're going to lose muscle mass, and you're going to have a big distended belly that doesn't look good. So be sure to eat balanced meals, but ensuring that you're in a calorie deficit. I promised you guys a bonus at the end of the video. Well, here it is. Go for a walk after every single meal. In the beginning, you might just want to start off with going for a walk after your dinner, or maybe just after your lunch if you're at work. But ultimately, you want to go for a walk after your meals. This can be just 15 minutes or even less, 10 minutes. But the reason why we want to go for a walk after we eat is because when we take in calories, especially carbohydrates, we're going to train our body to use them immediately as opposed to storing them as body fat. So your body starts to get used to storing carbohydrate in the muscle as opposed to in fat cells. So when it stores it in muscle, it stores it as glycogen and it's ready to be used as quick energy. So this is actually going to increase muscle size a little bit as well. But basically what we want to do is limit fat storage. But there's other benefits to going for walking. Some other benefits are there's improved digestion, there's improved blood sugar regulation. So this would be good for people who are at risk of diabetes. There's stress reduction benefits, but the best benefit of going for a walk after you eat is that you're not storing body fat. You're using those calories immediately. Studies have shown that going for 15-minute walks 3 times a day, so that would be obviously after every single meal, breakfast, lunch, and dinner, would be equivalent to a 45-minute cardio session. So just to recap, tip number 1 is to avoid sugar and replace it with whole food fruits such as bananas and dates. The second part of tip number 1 is to avoid processed oil and replace with whole foods like avocados, coconut, and nuts. Tip number 2 is to eat your carbohydrates. Just don't eat too much at once. Try to choose whole foods. So eat your sweet potatoes, brown rice, and whole grains. Once in a while, white rice is fine too. Tip number 3 is to not eat too much at once, especially high fiber foods such as salads, soups with tons of veggies. But if you do choose salads and soups, try to make sure they're macronutrient balanced meals. So include enough fats and proteins with your veggies. And the final bonus was to go for a 15-minute walk after your meals so that your body doesn't take all of this new glucose and shuttle it into your fat cells. Instead, it'll use it to fuel your walk and you'll store less as adipose tissue around your belly. And you'll have that lean physique that you're looking for. Thanks a lot if you made it this far in the video. Comment down below if any of these tips have helped you out. Please feel free to subscribe to this channel. I'll see you guys in the next one. And with that, I'm out.